This is Danny here from Skillshare, and I'm here with Danny FISHER-SHIN. Danny, it's so great to have you. Really excited to have you here.
Yeah, really excited to do this. Thanks for having me. I was just reading all of the places everyone's tuning in from in the chat, and that is like the entire world. That's crazy.
Yes,
Being
we are.
here.
We're worldwide. Welcome, everybody. Um, we're going to get into a lot of really fun things in Procreate Dreams today, and we're super thankful to have Danny, animator, graphic designer, art director, join us here and guide us through a little bit of their process in the new app. So I hope you're there with your iPad ready. I hope you've got Procreate Dreams downloaded. This is going to be a super interactive session. All right, so we are here for Enhance Your Animations with Procreate Dreams. So today, what are we going to do? First and foremost, we're here to get inspired and get excited about this new app. There's so much that you can do now with animation, whether you're just getting started in animation or you're more experienced and looking for a new workflow, a new way to work. Maybe you already illustrate on Procreate and you're looking to animate. So however you've come here, wherever you're at in your animation journey, you're going to take something away from this session with Danny today. So you'll be able to follow along step by step and sketch and actually animate from scratch in this session. So with that, if you don't already have Procreate Dreams, you can go head over to procreate.com/dreams to download the app. It's depending on where you are, the price may change, but if you want to follow along step by step with Danny today, go ahead and download that app. And yeah, with that, really excited to just dive into it.
Thank you, Danny. Apologies for my cat in the background. There may be some cat interference during this stream, but I figured I enjoy it, so you guys might too. To give you guys a background of what I do, my name is Danny FISHER-SHIN. I'm an animator, art director, and illustrator. I've been working in commercial animation, motion graphics for several years, not going to count. And I've been working in Procreate since around 2016 and in Procreate Dreams on some commissions for Procreate themselves for most of this year. So I have a pretty good idea and was working on the beta for a while. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm just going to run through a very sketchy, very simple combination of cell animation and the new keyframe animation, including some of the perform feature that's, I think, exclusive to Procreate Dreams, which is very cool. So I'm going to run through all of that and to give you guys an idea of what can be made in Procreate Dreams when you have more time than just an hour and a half. We're going to go ahead and show you one of the commissions that I worked on earlier this year.
Such a cool animation, Danny. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's something that took a lot longer than the time that we have today, but in the hands of somebody who animates for a living, this app is extremely useful, especially for personal and more mobile work. I was able to do that all on my iPad, obviously, so that was really lovely to be able to just do that from my couch and from cafes and stuff. So this is a really cool tool that we're going to have to do that. I'll go actually through, I'll just start here because why not? This will give us a minute. So basically, here's the idea of what we would start doing. So I just animated a super simple, very sketchy, semi-abstract flower waving in the wind animation. And I'll walk through kind of what I did here. I basically just started with this plain drawing. I had the stem separate from the petals, so I started with just this. And one thing that you should note when you're trying to make looping animations in Procreate Dreams is the preview will stop wherever it ends right over here on the edge. So if you want to loop the preview there, you can just use your view to scoot that over to the end, and it will automatically loop if you're set to loop. So the way that I set this project up, if you tap on the name here, you can see here in properties, I put this at 12 frames per second because it's going to be very simple, sketchy, like cell animation vibes, very hand-drawn, and the duration right now is just, I think it's actually, yeah, 1 minute. That's disgusting. We're gonna lower that. Let's do like 8 seconds for now. This is just the default 4K setting that shows up when you create a project here. And that is pretty much what we have set up. And I have onion skins on here. If you're not familiar with onion skins, it's just showing the frames before and after, and you can go in and edit. I have 2 frames showing backwards and 1 frame showing forward. I'm just going to switch this to 1. And then I have the opacity turned down to 25%, so you can see there's this ghosting right here. So basically imagining how the wind would push right here at the top, and then having a far point about halfway through, and then just bringing it back. And you can see the onion skins disappear when you're scrolling through, which is nice. But then when you stop, you can see, okay, this ghosting frame right there is the next frame, so I can match. And what I did do here, which you can see with the petals, I don't know if you can see the kitten walking across right now. I don't think you can. That's kind of perfect. This is her tail.
We love the kitten guess. Hey, Danny, is it possible to just push your iPad up just like another inch towards your... Yeah, that's great. Yeah, this is the bot. There, perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for finding that. Yeah, so I did the same thing with these petals up here. And what I did in order to make it loop is I started animating straight ahead, found my farthest point, and then I actually took this first frame. I pulled it up 1 because when you duplicate it, if you hold down on the layer and duplicate, it'll duplicate right next to it. If I did that while it was here, it pushes everything over, which I don't want. So I pulled it up, duplicated it, and put it again at the end. So that's what this layer is. So if I turn that on, then I can have my onion skins and see where it will loop. So I can make sure that's continuous. And then I'll just delete it at the end, and we have our loop. Let me check how charged my pencil is. I'm a professional, y'all. 23, it's not great. Okay, so we're gonna start with this to actually save some time. And what I'm gonna do is there's this great new feature in Procreate Dreams where you can group things. And this is a really big game changer for people who use After Effects or any other more quote unquote professional or established industry animation apps, because it kind of, gotta for that, allows you to quote unquote pre-comp. So if you use After Effects, you have an idea what that means. If you don't, I'm going to show you right now. So I'm going to group this, and now it's all under one animation layer, and it's all the same. It's all still there. It's all looping, but now I can open this up and see all of my frames, but it's in one clean layer. So I'm going to exit out of that. Again, you press this right here and then select with your pen and then press to get out. And I'm going to rename this flower because we like organization in this home. So since I have this looping, what I'm going to do is just duplicate it. And again, it'll duplicate right at the end. So it will automatically just loop seamlessly right there, which is really lovely. So I'm going to duplicate that a few more times just to make it continue looping. And I could just like group these and then duplicate it again, but I am not going to because I don't want to. All right, so now we have a lot of loops. And it's going basically the entire 8 seconds. Yeah, good stuff. It's really windy in this imaginary flower world, so that might look chaotic later, but we're gonna see how it goes. So once again, I'm gonna take these and group these again, just so that there we go. And again, press and hold, group. Yeah. So now we have our looping flower all in one layer. It's not how you spell that. And there we go. So I made this 8 seconds, and I'm actually going to probably shorten it a little bit later, but we do want this to loop eventually. So our goal here, probably should have started with this, is to make a scene with this flower duplicated over and over with a fake sort of like camera move as if we're traveling with our camera through the flowers. I'm making all these hand gestures. You can't see them, but just know that they're there. So we're going to be traveling like camera pushing forward through a field of this same flower duplicated. And if we have time, we're going to animate a little like bee or butterfly flying through and use the perform feature for that. So let's get started making this environment. So we have our looping flower. And one of the nice things with having these new like animation layer format in Dreams as opposed to the system in Procreate for animation is that now we have this all in one layer and we can easily duplicate it, move it around. So I'm going to take this and move it over here to the side. And actually, what I'm going to do before I do that, if you see this 3 dot thing right there in the top right corner, you can edit the anchor point, which is really nice. I'm going to go ahead and put this about in the middle. And that way, like when I tap this, you get that little arc, you can rotate, you can scale up and down. It's really nice. And if I do all of that, all of the animation stays the same. It's just scale up. Apologies for the kitten.
Hey, Danny, one quick question about the onion skins someone had was, so to have those there, are you drawing them in each frame, or is it there a way to like copy and paste and then edit the art as opposed to drawing each frame out?
Yeah, you can definitely copy and paste. Like say if you're going in here and you have this one drawing and you just want to say like rotate that, you could do that frame by frame, or you could keyframe it, which is something that we're going to get into. So that is a very good and relevant question.
Awesome.
You don't have to draw frame by frame. That's just something that I like doing. So since this is a very sketchy style also, we'll be doing that a couple more times, but we'll also be showing how to use keyframes with that as a base animation. So I am going to start animating. If we think about how we would see a flower pass by us if we are zooming through a field of flowers, um, it would get smaller to bigger, obviously, because it's coming closer. So if you tap on this right here, so little red guy, you get all of your controllers for making keyframes. And I'm going to choose move because we wanted to move and scale. And now we have all of these keyframes in here for all of our move and scale properties. So it makes an X position, that's this way. It makes a Y position up and down. And this is our scale for each axis as well. And then we have our rotation down at the bottom. So again, I've just pressed and clicked on expand to get all of these options separately. You can also just leave that as one keyframe and edit all of them at the same time. It's totally fine. I just like doing this because it's cleaner. So we're going to keyframe the scale. I'm going to delete the other ones just because it's cleaner to me and my brain. So now we only have scale. And I'm going to take this and just maybe around 3 seconds. That feels right. We can always move it later. That's the beauty of it. And I'm going to make an X. Ooh, not X. I forgot we're doing scale. Delete. Delete that. Make my 2 scale keyframes here, and now I can edit that. And now it's slowly scaling up. So that seems big enough to me. Let's do that big. And everything scales from the center or from your anchor point. Scale and rotation always in Dreams, which is a little different from oh my gosh, I thumbs downed myself. Um which is a little different from Procreate, where it all scales from the corner. So just know that. So I'm going to actually have to start a little smaller. Why is my anchor point there? It's a little bigger, so it's a little better. Yeah, okay, done. Okay, so I'm gonna make this a little smaller. I think that's about a good size. So now we have it just slowly scaling up. And actually, what I'm going to do is when you look at these keyframes, um, if you again hold it down, you'll see this set easing setting. And this is really great. This is so happy this is here. This is another property that you can get in After Effects or other keyframe animation programs. So basically right now it's all just you choose linear, which is just the same pace throughout. You choose ease in, which just starts slow and then go faster. Ease out, which is the opposite, and ease in and out, which just starts slow and end slow. So for this, we are going to just do linear because for both of these because it's X and Y axis because we're moving at a continuous pace through the flowers, so it wouldn't really ease in or out. So now we see we have our flower moving up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually group this again. And if you're familiar with After Effects or anything, this is kind of like pre-comping a second time. Um, so if I select this, press and hold, I can group it again. So now all of the keyframes that I made are actually just held within that group, and I can now keyframe on top of those keyframes on this bigger group. Stay with me. Hope that made sense. I'm going to press and hold, rename, flower, scaling. You guys can't see, but the kitten is like literally just watching what I'm doing on the iPad right now. It's really cute. Okay, so now we have our flower scaling up. And what I'm going to do with this top group that I now have control over is I'm going to make another keyframe, expand, and I'm just going to keyframe the X movement. Basically, we want it to look as if the flower is moving past the camera and towards the camera as we are flying through this field. So it can start here at the vanishing point in the center. This will be like a 1 point perspective type of thing. And then let's go back to where our other keyframes were. I think it's around 3 seconds. And we'll go make another keyframe there and let's move it all the way off screen. So now we have that also animating on top of the scale that we have, which is nice. So one thing that I'm just going to do because I want to, with the easing on this, as it gets closer, it would like visually look like it's moving faster than it is when it's farther away, like earlier here towards the center. So I'm going to set the easing on this, press and hold, set easing to ease in. So it starts slow and ends fast. There we go. That's like a vague optical illusion of it coming towards us. And I'm going to actually,
Hey, Danny,
yeah.
was wondering, so a lot of people were excited to maybe after this keyframing moment, people were excited to see how you kind of like drew from scratch and like got the onion skins set
Yes.
up. So maybe after this section you can go back because a lot of people were like curious about that part of the process as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I think my pencil's almost charged, so we should be good to do that for the bee/butterfly.
Awesome. So everyone, yes, we will be adding a drawing from scratch to this. So just keep following along with the keyframes for now, and we'll get back to the drawing.
Yeah, thanks guys. That's on me for having a pen that dies very quickly all the time at the least opportune moment. So thank you for your patience. All right, let's go back to this. Um, I'm actually gonna start a little farther out because it's just bothering me and I don't like it. And I think I'm going to have the scale start a little smaller. Let's see how that looks. And again, I'm going to end the loop around 3 seconds because that's where our keyframes end. Yeah, that'll do. And just because I want to show off some stuff and it kind of looks a little better in my opinion, basically we're going to take this animation and add, basically loop it and offset it so we have like a million of the same flower just like coming at us. Um, so it looks more like a field rather than just one flower that we're passing by. So what I'm going to do is on this top group that I have here, I'm going to make a filter keyframe. And I'm going to blur it. So right now it's at 0%. I'm going to up it to like, yeah, sure, that. So I'm going to make that keyframe. And then as it gets closer, I'm going to have it come into focus. Ooh, there we go. And maybe this can ease. We'll see. We'll see what looks good. Let's see how that looks. Sure. Spread that out a little more. And then you just press and hold and drag to change the timing of your keyframes. That's too much. I'm going to make it a little less blurry so it's not as intense. There we go. That'll do. And I'm also going to do the same thing, but with there we go, opacity, just to have it fade on. So 0, and then maybe let's have it go on pretty quickly. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, so now we have our base animation that we're going to duplicate and just spread out in time and space so that we have all of our flowers. And hopefully we'll have enough time for me to get this to loop. We'll see. Keep me honest, Danny with a Y.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep you honest with the timing for sure.
You. All right, so Kittenhead, get out of
Looks
here.
like your cat's interested in what's going on too.
Oh yeah. Earlier she was helping me animate. Not very well, but she was doing it. No, don't make me put you in cat jail. All right. So I'm gonna take this flower that we have and I am gonna duplicate it. So now we have two of our flowers, and if I offset it by just a little bit of time, it already looks kind of like we're going through multiple flowers, but that's really close and it looks kind of weird, so I'm not gonna offset it a little bit more. Yeah. So now I'm actually gonna change the opacity to be a little bit longer. Let's just do linear.
Can you, as you're going through those steps, can you just kind of like mention which selections you're making in the app for folks
Yes,
with the
absolutely. And
opacity and stuff? Yeah, thanks.
yeah, so this is the opacity keyframe that we had, just pressing and holding that and setting the easing. And I dragged it out a little bit longer so it doesn't come on as suddenly. So now we have two flowers. And I'm actually going to trim this. So as soon as this first flower, I'm actually going to delete this and then duplicate it after I've trimmed. After this first flower exits screen, I'm going to just drag the end of that layer and have it stop right there. That way we don't have like a million layers just existing forever animating in the sidelines. We don't really need that. So again, I'm going to duplicate this. Duplicates right at the end, and I'm going to offset it a little bit. Again, just like press and hold to drag around any of your layers. Let's see. Yeah, so we have two going on here. I'm going to move this a little sooner, and then we're just going to start populating this a little bit. I don't want it to be all exactly the same, so I'm just going to offset them by random amounts of time and see how that looks. Yeah, so that's like a line of flowers that we're going through. I'm gonna do something absolutely nuts and move one of these a little bit over. Oh, I forgot. I'm going to group it first. Need a pen. So select with my pen, press and hold, group, and that way all of the keyframes are inside there, and then I can just drag it a little bit to the side just to have a little more depth to this so they're not just like all in a perfect line. Let's try there. Yeah, that'll do. That looks nice. Let's do a little further over and hopefully it doesn't. No, it's too much behind that bottom. Okay, there we go. It wasn't broke. I'm not going to fix it. All right, let's add one more flower in the back here just because I want to. And I get to do what I want, which is nice. Just kidding. Jail. And I'm going to move this over as well. And I should have actually just like grouped this earlier, grouped each of these just so that the keyframes were inside of like a completely independent composition or group, just so that when I want to move stuff around, I can do that without affecting the keyframes that I've already set. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag this over. Let's see. Oh, my pen might almost be charged, which would be amazing. Ooh, 93. All right. So there. Now we have a little variation. I'm gonna move this over a little more because I don't like that, actually. I still don't like that. I'm gonna move it back. The fun thing about this is like we only did this one frame by frame animation of this flower, and now since we have all of these keyframes, we have all of these groups, I can just take these and just move them around and adjust them. And it's kind of great. Looks a little chaotic there at the end. I'm gonna slide that back. Oh, there we go. All right, so now that we have this around 5-second-ish long, like series of flowers going here, I'm going to, you guessed it, group it again. I'm just gonna take my pen here. Gotta have the 2000s pencil grip on there. It's important. All right. So I'm gonna group all of these. Gotta love the groups. And now we just have one group of flowers going past. So I'm going to, again, duplicate this. Bear with me, guys. So now we have this, and then we have this top group is starting a little bit back. I'm going to overlap these so that they kind of become a continuous scrolling. Looks like I need to move it up a little bit more. That seems like it'll work. Let's see. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna spread out a little tiny bit because I'm picky. Okay. So now we have our looping. You can't see the air quotes that I'm making. Looping. That was horrible. Scrolling background situation. And what I'm going to do is, let's see, this is about half a second, almost 2 seconds of overlap here. We're gonna see if I can loop this. This is where it gets mathy, which is not great for my brain. But you know, let's give it a shot. Ooh, it's not so. Sounds like both of these. Doesn't like that. Try again. Here. Group. No, doesn't want me to do that. All right, that's fine. Let's chill, bro. Let me see if I can do this. Is that what you, no, it's not what you didn't like. No, okay. So we're gonna leave those. And we're just going to basically try to drag this first one over because we don't want it to start as an empty screen anyway. So I'm going to drag this, say, you can see our markers here, maybe 1.5 seconds. back. Let's try that. It's like 2 seconds. I lied. We're dragging it 2 seconds back. And then we're going to have this overlap that we already had laid out. That gap. All right, and now we're going to duplicate this again and see if we can get this to loop at the exact 2-second point in that this one starts at. 7 seconds. Let's see. I'm gonna truth. This looks right. Yes. Okay. So if you see there, I just jumped from here. This is the same composition as this, or the same group. Got to train myself out of that. As this one here, because we just duplicated it. It's overlapping this last one, so hopefully that overlap is enough. We'll see when we, start viewing it. So this frame right here, since this one ended, it's just the pure exact frame that's right here, the one right before this. So what should happen, if we're lucky on the first try, oh my gosh, I don't even know how you do that, is it'll loop, which is really great because that means that we can do less work and it loops. That's great. So I think that's right at the 7-second mark. So what I'm going to do, if we did this right, is I'm going to change this to 7 seconds. And if we're lucky, that's the exact frame. And yes, ugh, love when that works. Did that make sense to everyone, the looping bit?
It looks super, super cool. Someone was asking about frames per second and how you could adjust that.
Yes.
Can you quickly just kind of share that?
Yeah, so I did this at the beginning, but you can also change it partway through. I prefer not to because it just freaks me out and I don't like it. So if you go into tapping the title right here, you'll get properties, stage, timeline, and these are all of your settings. So if you just stick with properties, which is where it opens to automatically, you'll have your frames per second here, and they have these presets here. You can choose whichever one. I'm doing 12 because I like the steppier look for this particular style. So yeah.
Very cool. And then since you're doing a bunch of like grouping and then subgrouping, folks were curious about like can you basically like if there's a limit to subgrouping and how you kind of work with any limitations in grouping and subgrouping with, for example, like the more complex animation we showed at the beginning.
Yeah, I did use a lot of groupings. I haven't hit a limit. I don't believe that there is one, but somebody might find out someday.
Okay, got it. Cool.
I have
So there's
subgroups so
you can
many
do
things.
many subgroups.
Yes.
Okay,
Just continue grouping. It's an addiction and it's kind of great. It's very, very, very useful.
awesome.
So we're gonna see if I can group this. I don't know why it's like being finicky. No, okay. Well, I like grouping it just because mentally then I'm like, okay, like that's one layer. But we have our one side um, here. Actually, that might be an issue because I do want to group this and flip it for the other side. So we're gonna see if we have to do this the hard way, and it's probably a yes. Um, oh my gosh, maximum number of subgroups exceeded. We did
There it
it.
is.
I've never had that happen before. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. What have I done? Okay,
So everyone knows there is a max
I'm gonna
subgroup.
ungroup these and then we'll see. We'll see if that works. That's never happened to me before. Wow, we found something. We learn something new every day. Um, Let me see if I ungroup these ones that I grouped just to move. Um, if we can cheat it again. Send thoughts and prayers. So I'm to ungroup if we want to go over that. I'm just pressing and holding on the group and then popping the menu, choosing ungroup. All right, let's see if we've been smiled upon. Yes. Oh, okay. Thank God, because that would have been a nightmare. So I'm just going to take the front and drag this back so it perfectly fits our timeline. Actually, you know what? I lied. I'm not going to do that yet. liar. Okay, so now we have our thing grouped. Yay. And I'm gonna duplicate it again. I don't know if it's gonna let me. Hopefully, yes. The answer is yes. Yay. Okay. So now we have this duplicated, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it and hit my three dots and do flip horizontal. And we're going to ignore the fact that the wind would be blowing in the same direction because we don't have time. So now we have our flower background looping. It's as if we are generating wind, which sure, yeah, that's fine. And I don't want it to be exactly perfect like this because it looks kind of funky. So since we have this looping, which is amazing, I can just slide it a little bit over and it should still loop just fine. We'll find out. Yeah, I made this flower way too windy. It looks insane. But you know what? It'll it'll do. Let's slide it a little more. We'll see if it still loops. Because that will break at some point. Yeah, they're just going nuts. But okay, we'll call that our background. That'll do. That's the theme of this live stream is that'll do. I'm just deleting this track in between pressing and holding because I don't like when there's a gap for no reason. You could also just drag, but you know, I'm lazy. So now we're going to get into frame by frame animation for real this time.
Everyone is so stoked about this part, Danny, just so you know.
Okay. So glad I totally skipped the first part that I was going to do, but you know, it's fine. We're getting there now.
Animation is all about adapting, right?
Oh yeah, that's totally. So I'm just gonna turn off the background layers for now, and go into the draw. Actually, I'm going to color sample this first because for some reason it's there we go. I actually didn't even mean to do this in blue, but it's like what was in the other project. So here we are. But we saved time, so there's something to be said for that. So now we are going to animate, let's do like a little bumblebee type of thing. Because they're cute. They're cute and round. We can do that. And I just swiped down to get to the flip book function. Can't talk today. So what this does is you can just scroll through and see all of your frames very simply. And this is really nice for when I'm trying to, oh, tap with four fingers. Didn't know that. This is really nice for when I'm trying to cell animate because you can just immediately go to the next frame. It generates one. It doesn't make a full timeline layer like it does when you draw directly on your regular timeline like this view. So I'm gonna make a little, I don't like this brush. I was using a different one earlier. Sorry guys, since we switched files, it's a little different. So I really like, these are just the default brushes that come in Procreate, and as everybody knows, they're all very good. I think it might have been this one. Yeah, let's go with this one. I think this was it. So this is 6B compressed if anybody cares about that. I'm just gonna zoom a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna draw.
Danny, did you choose draw or empty when you started the file?
I chose draw, but it doesn't matter because you can immediately just press this draw
Ah,
to
okay. Yeah, so you can go empty and just click that squiggle icon and we'll go to draw mode.
yeah, exactly.
Cool.
All right, so I'm gonna draw a little bumblebee, round little bumblebee body, and I'm gonna go to the next frame just by sliding over on flipbook. That's why this is really nice for cell animation. Otherwise you can do it in the other view. It's just a pain. So if I drew here, it would make a full length layer for this, which I don't want. So that's why we are using. So that's why we are using flipbook. So this will automatically just go to the next frame. So since this is 12 frames per second, whatever I draw will also be 12 frames per second. I might make this on twos later because we're going really sketchy, but we'll see.
And then people were question, how did you get the flip book open to see the frames when you're in full screen?
When I'm here, down. No, let's try the four fingers. No, it doesn't like me. There.
Okay.
I need a new iPad, guys. Yeah, so you just swipe down and then swipe down to get back to it.
Cool. So you kind of selected you selected it in the timeline and then went to full screen and then you can see it again.
Yes.
Perfect.
So when I'm in here, I am just back to the frame. If I were in any other frame and then I went back, it would just be in that frame and I could
A
scroll
blank.
back.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question. So I'm just gonna keep making a little sketchy body for a bumblebee. This is going to be static just because I want it to look hand drawn. But we are going to end up keyframing this. So then it looks like it's hand drawn like over and over again, like while it's moving around all crazy, but that's just keyframes and it's a lie. And it's way faster to not have to hand draw the entire thing. So sometimes lying is good. It's the moral. So now we have this little loop that's just kind of sketchy. It's actually kind of moving, so I don't like that. I'm gonna do what I did before, pick this up, duplicate it, bring it to the end and see. Yeah, so I like gradually accidentally moved it over. And the nice thing about this is that I can just take this layer and like drag it back. So now that's more in the same position. God love that. I don't know why I like drifted upward. I guess it's just how I draw. Okay. So now let's see. Yeah, that'll do. And this frame is duplicating, which is why it looks weird. So I'm gonna delete that. And now we have our very sketchy bumblebee body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group this. Now that we've like found the subgrouping limit, I'm like scared of hitting that again. That's like a new fear um, that I have, which is fun. So I'm doing this body and I'm going to now do the same thing. There you go. You have to be in draw mode if that helps, guys, to do the flip book. And I'm going to make some little wings. So again, this is super sketchy on purpose to disguise the fact that we don't have time to like make it super nice. So we're just doing it. It looks like a snitch now, but that's fine. So I'm just animating straight ahead for now. That seems like a good flap. Um, and then I'm going to exit this and we want this to be the same amount of frames as the body. I guess it doesn't really matter. Well, true freedom. And I'm going to take this and duplicate it again for the end. Just just so we can see where we're trying to get back to. And now I can see where I need to get back to from this previous frame to make it loop. So let's go back to flipbook. It's drawn in between frame. We're going to make it pretty bent because, wind resistance and whatnot. And then that looks like it might work. Let's add one more because then it will be the same amount of frames and we like that. Super sketchy. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's a bee that's never existed. That's not how that's a butterfly. That's not how bees fly. But this is our called artistic license. This is what it is. It's like a cute little butterfly bee.
Love it. I think it looks super cool.
Thank you, Danny, with the
Yeah. I'm into
Oh.
this way of flying. I support this way of flying.
Appreciate you. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to do the same thing that we did before, flip horizontal, all my animations still there. We love that. Um, so now we have our little loop. He's just flying. So now I'm just gonna group all of these. Ooh, ooh, no, I live in fear. Group. There we go. I'm professional again. I'm gonna delete this track because it bothers me. And I'm gonna name this B. And I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this a million times. Hopefully it doesn't hate me for that. Just so it loops for our entire, let's see, we have 7 seconds. Let's go. Let's see. It might not like this, but we're gonna We're gonna find out, that's for sure. Let's see, select all of these. Can I group you? Yes, okay, success. So this is the real bee group. Yay! Oh, the wing is whatever, it's too late. I'm not gonna do it. Looks fine. It's beautiful. Okay. We're calling it sketchy. It's sketchy. It's artistic. So I'm gonna turn our background layers back on. So now we have our weird little abomination just flying through our field of flowers, which is nice. I'm actually just because I'm going to add a track in here, and I just press the plus button and then you get all these options. I added a track, and that basically just means room for another layer. Since our weird little bee creature is also the same color, it's kind of bothering me. Maybe I'll undo this, who knows. But he kind of blends into the flowers. So I'm gonna choose like a nice orange yellow. Same as Procreate, drag and drop, fill, and then I'm going to do a clipping mask. Will you let me? Ooh, no. I was using the beta, so honestly, sometimes. Oh, there we go. Yes. Yeah, stuff moved. Okay. So now we have. Actually, I'm going to go over that again just in case anybody missed that. So I wanted to press and hold to get all of our options, mask, and then clipping mask. And for those of you who aren't familiar, that's also a function in Procreate, but it's just clipping, basically using whatever layer is under it as a matte for our layers. So now our bee is yellow, and that's kind of cute. I'll take that. Okay. So now we get to the fun part where we get to use a brand new feature that no other animation program that I am aware of has. I could be wrong, I could be lying. But I've never used it, so I think it's pretty great. And what we're gonna do is we're going to make our little bee guy move around, but we're gonna do it using a feature called perform. So I'm gonna edit the anchor just because this is gonna bother me and I don't like it.
Hey, Danny, one quick question before you jump into the performing. People were asking how you made the solid color layer again. Like they missed that step,
Oh
changing
yeah.
the color.
So basically, let me unclip this. I'll just redo it super fast. So what I did was I just have this blank track, right? I press the draw function, choose my color, and this is the same as the UI in Procreate where you drag and drop into the canvas, and it just fills it. I think you can actually do it, yeah, like the entire thing, but that's crazy, so don't do that. If you draw outside the canvas, which you can do, obviously, since we have stuff outside here, it will fill like everything, which is crazy, so don't do that if you don't need it. I'm just dropping inside, becomes a solid layer.
Awesome. Cool. And then people were curious how you flipped it horizontally.
Yeah, so that's something that I did in here in the B. So if you take your group, you just select it, go out of drawing mode, so that you're in this mode, which is just without anything selected. You have your layer, you press the three dots right here and do flip horizontal.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into some performing.
Oh, okay. So this I actually don't use this feature very much because I do so much client work and my brain is just very type A in terms of organization with animation. I like to have control over everything. So I usually use keyframes for this, but this is really, really nice for if you want to do like a really natural looking movement very quickly. So we're gonna let's do it. So this is the perform button. And basically what it does is I'm gonna press that and I'm gonna show you. I can just take this, drag it around. And now it's just doing exactly the motion that I dragged it in, which is amazing. Ooh, okay, there we go. So what it did was it basically recorded all of the movements that I did. So since I was mostly just doing, or since I was completely just moving the position, it has all of these X and Y. I don't know if you can see that keyframes that it made in here automatically from how I moved it. So you can edit this after. It's just not like super clean for my own preferences for like client work and stuff because they get really specific. So yeah, that's basically what perform is. I'm gonna go back and do that better because I didn't do it all the way to the end of the timeline and we want that. So let's do this. Never mind, I messed up. Don't look at it. Okay, let's try again. So it'll automatically just play through in real time. We're just gonna have it go back and forth. And there we go. Now we have it animating, doing these little side to side motions over the entire time, which is awesome. And I actually do want it to loop, and I didn't move back fast enough. So what I'm going to do, delete these extra keyframes because I just don't like them. And I'm going to take this keyframe and I'm going to actually, I'm going to delete that because I don't like it. I'm going to make the same keyframe by just moving that one over and making a keyframe. And then I'm going to take this keyframe and drag it all the way to the end if I can. Keep track of it. It's trying to evade me. I think it was this one. We'll find out. And drag it here. So now, if it's right, that should loop on the x-axis at least. I'm going to do the same thing for y. Hopefully those are the right keyframe. We'll find out. There we go. So I'm going to drag that all the way. And I believe there was, I don't know what I'm allowed to say about the beta and what I'm not. So hopefully I don't get sniped. I'm going to delete this keyframe. There we go. That might be too fast. So we can always move it around later if it's super janky how it loops there. But let's see. And I just keep forgetting that I can like pinch and then it'll go to the entire timeline. So that's an easy quick shortcut instead of just moving around a lot like me. So let's see. Yeah, so it's pretty fast, but it does loop, which is great. So I'm going to actually, I'm just going to delete this Y keyframe also so it has a little more time. Okay. I'm just going to make it a little bit less high here. Because I like that it goes up, but I don't like that it goes that far up. Okay, let's see how that looks. That'll do. It's not super smooth because it's performant. It's not made for that, but it's fine. It's looping. That's great. So now what we're gonna do is perform even more properties on top of this because we love layers. Clearly, that is another theme of this session. So what I'm
Danny,
gonna do.
before you jump into the next round of that, just quick time check. We're at 2 o'clock, top of the hour. So maybe we do another 10-ish minutes of animating, and then we can move to general questions.
That is perfect. This would be the last thing that we do, I think, this last bit. So
Awesome.
great.
Perfect.
That's perfect timing. Look at that. Okay, so we're going to perform again. We already have this perform. We're going to do it in another way. This time we are going to rotate. And again, I don't do this super often, so don't laugh at me if I mess this up. So here I've clicked the perform button. I clicked the top right corner to get this little arc that we have here, and that is how I'm going to rotate. Let's see if I do this really badly in a very nonsensical way because I don't remember how it's animating, and we're gonna find out. And I'm scaling instead, so we're gonna undo that. Let's try again. It always does that for me, and I'm bad at clicking the exact arc, which is fun. Oh my gosh. Okay, at this point, you guys are allowed to laugh. Back to the beginning. Yes. Yay, we did it. So now I'm just having it. Oh, all right. I I think I did something weird there, but you know, we did it. We're gonna call that a win. So now he's rotating as he's flying. He's just having a happy little time. It looks kind of fine until that last part where I think I accidentally undid something that I did to fix this loop and now it looks disgusting. So whoops.
So this is done with performing the movement and then performing a rotation on top of each other as like layered performing keyframes.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I think I accidentally deleted the loop keyframe that I did on Y by undoing too many times, which is in character. So I'm gonna redo that. Bear with me, folks. This gives us something to fill that 15 minutes with. Just watching me fix my mistakes.
So as you're doing that, what are you like, how are you fixing it?
So I just went back and I copied the back to the beginning, and I duplicated this frame by just pulling it over, making another keyframe. So that's exactly the same because this doesn't move in here. And then dragging it all the way to the end. So now that's the same as this keyframe.
Got it.
So now it should loop. We'll see if that looks good. It's probably gonna look just okay. Yeah. So there, we fixed that. Now he's rotating. If we wanted to, yeah, he flies a little weird at the end there, but you know, we'll take it. He's special. Um, if we wanted to, we could continue to perform different things like scale like we were earlier. Maybe since we have a little time, let's just do that for kicks. Funnily enough, the rotation didn't actually, it wasn't that far off from the loop point. So I'm just gonna, and you can always, one of the nice things is you can click on the keyframe and it'll show you the value. So this is -10, basically. And I'm gonna see what it is over here. Ooh, okay. It's just 0 because we started at 0, which makes total sense. So I'm just gonna change this to 0 because it's not that different. Yeah, that'll be fine. So that's another way that you can do it, that I didn't earlier. Might be easier for the numerically brained of us. But yeah, now it's looping. He's doing that. Let's do one more round of performing on top of all of this. And let's just make him get bigger and smaller, I guess, because we can. And why not? Here we go. So it's like he's like changing speeds. He's like going farther ahead and then coming back. Or we could have him get even farther ahead of us. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah, so now he's got a little more variation. Like he's changing speeds. He's going further in front, coming back. Yeah, that actually didn't loop that badly. But again, let's go back and see our scale. Just make keyframes at the end because we don't need this trash outside the timeline. So this is 0.857. And I'm just going to change these both to 1 because I'm pretty sure we started at 1 because it's a default. So I'm just going to do that. And we have enough time between this keyframe and this keyframe that it should look smooth. Yeah. There we go. There's our special little guy being weird and flying all funky with his weird little butterfly wings. So yeah, if we wanted to spend a ton of time like finessing this, making that loop point a little bit cleaner, because I think it's starting towards the right, but then it's like still going towards the right, and then it stops and then starts again here. So we could spend a little more time going through and finessing that a little bit, making it look a little bit nicer. But for the sake of teaching all of these principles, I think we kind of I think we kind of did it. What do you guys think? Is there anything else that you want to see happen in
I think
here?
it looks, yeah, it looks really cool. And it's cool to see how starting from scratch, you can use performing keyframes and a little bit of like the onion skin, more drawn style. Super, super cool.
Yeah, I actually, if we do have a minute, Danny, I can go through the
Yeah.
onions a little bit more.
Yeah, why
That's
don't we do a little bit of the onion skins and then we can wrap up with some Q&A.
okay, perfect. I'm going to just turn these off for the sake of simplicity so that we can see what we're doing. So let's say I was going to start, let's keep the yellow. We like the yellow. Let's say I was going to start animating that flower from scratch. I'm gonna go to flipbook mode. And you can see this little like timestamp here is in both flipbook and regular mode. I'm gonna tap that, and that's where I get my onion skin options and my background color option, which I don't care about right now. So hide onion skin, show onion skin, that's easy. Edit onion skin. So this part is really nice. Let's say I draw a circle. Um, I go to edit onion skins. Let me actually draw a few so we can see our onion skin. So I'm gonna go to the middle frame. So I have frames on either side before and after. So the frame backwards is going to be this purple color. You can see that right here. And I can change the opacity. So if I want to see it super clear, I can bring it up. If I want it in the background, which I usually prefer maybe around like 20%, I can do that. If I'm also working with different colors and I just want to be able to really easily tell which is the backwards and forwards frame separately, I can change this color to whatever I want on this menu, which is pretty great. I'm going to choose this blue because why not? And then forwards, we have one frame showing, and that's pretty light. You can kind of see as I turn up the opacity here because of the color that it is. So I'm going to choose a different color that I can see more easily. It's also just a very light drawing. I'm going to make that darker. Oh, so backwards. Okay, so now I'm gonna make that purple, and that shows up pretty well. Let's do red just for extra difference. Now I can clearly see, okay, my forward onion skin is this red one, my backward one is this blue, and if I want one, say the forward one to be a lot higher opacity, I can do that, and vice versa. So this is a really great way to be able to see your onion skins more like a professional cell animation program, which is really nice. Um, so I'm gonna delete all of these because I don't actually want to draw a bunch of random circles. So let's see, we were going to, there we go, that's better. Let's say we were going to start the flower from scratch. Start with a line. I have my onion skins. I'm like, okay, the wind is blowing it from the top a little bit. Keep the root the same because roots don't move. A little more. And then we have our end point where it's furthest. And then now's the point where now that I have my farthest pose, I'm going to take that again, duplicate it, bring it to the end. And Danny, let me know if I'm taking too long. I can stop at any point.
I think it's cool to see this like from scratch. So maybe just, yeah, showing, yeah, kind of getting to this and then we can, yeah, we can round it out.
Okay, so now I can see ahead. And if I wanted to, what I could do, if I know that I want to have a few keyframes ahead, like between, like maybe I want two between, since this is my farthest point, and then there's two, and then it's the beginning again. I can go in here, move that 2 frames over, and then I can change my onion skins to show 2 frames forward. And now I can see, okay. Now I can do one in between. And then it will loop. And it's very fast, but that doesn't matter because we aren't using this for anything. Um, if I wanted to make it slower without drawing any more frames, I could just take my layers and drag it so it's on twos. That's I think I did this for the original flower just because I like wanted it to look really sketchy. So I do wish like if you drag this here, it's not going to drag. There has to be room in front of it. So you do have to do it on another track.
Cool.
But
So for extending the length of each frame, essentially, you move each individual drawing to the different track and then extend it out.
yeah, if you wanted to change the entire project to another frame rate, you could also do that. But I don't, so I didn't, and I'm not going to. So yeah, now it's a little slower since we did it on twos. So yeah, that's how I would do that. Do we want to do the petals for no reason, or shall we jump into questions?
I think I think maybe we should jump into questions just so that we don't go too long. That's
Sounds
cool. Thank you, Danny. That was amazing. So yeah, one general question is like people were just curious how you're planning to use this program or what you're most excited about for this program that you maybe didn't have access to before with Procreate or how it's going to integrate into your already existing animation workflow as an artist.
Yeah, that's a great question. Personally, I tend to use like all of the workflow that I use professionally for animation outside of commissions and personal stuff. Has always in the past been like Adobe, After Effects, Photoshop, other like cell animation programs are usually in the pipeline. For myself, I really value not having to have a huge work setup and an entire like giant PC and a Cintiq and everything. So for me, for my personal projects and for um, a little more like simpler client projects, like what I showed earlier, the commission that I was working on for Procreate themselves. I would definitely use this at any chance that I could get within its capabilities. I definitely see myself using this for 100% of my personal animation as far as I can, just because it's so much simpler to be able to do everything all in one app instead of like cell animating in Photoshop and then pulling it into After Effects for compositing and stuff like that. Plus, it's on my iPad and I like that and I like working Procreate, so it's like a win-win for me.
Cool. Yeah, just like simplifying, making it more portable for like creative fun projects. I
Yeah,
love
as
that.
like a 2D animator who works in both frame by frame animation and keyframe animation, oftentimes in tandem, this is pretty much perfect for that for me. So definitely gonna be
So
using.
cool. Very exciting. Awesome. And then someone asked, I don't know how much you're already a Procreate user, like the original Procreate, but like have you tried animating existing illustrations or things from Procreate and how's that been working for you?
Yeah, so I actually designed all of that piece that I showed at the beginning in Procreate, um, partially because I had all of the brushes that I liked in there, and the Dreams was Procreate Dreams was like a beta, like it was super early when I started that. So you can also just drag and drop all of your Procreate files into Procreate Dreams, which is really nice.
Cool.
Um, Now I don't know if I would need to use Procreate itself for that. I feel like I might anyway, just out of habit, but I have been using Procreate to design stuff since like 2016. So
Cool. So the drag and drop process from Procreate into Procreate Dreams has been fun, and that's what you used for that first example. That's cool to know.
yes, that was actually super early, so it wasn't as streamlined of a process, but I believe now you can actually just fully drag and drop and you'll have all of your layers, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's super cool. Awesome. And then let me see. There's so many good questions here.
I'm really curious.
Um, yeah. Zooming out, and I think this is a good question, maybe as like a last question before I share some of the final details. Like your journey, so your journey as an animator, you've worked with some incredible clients. Obviously you're working with Procreate on commissions and many amazing clients. And just like, do you have any words of advice to share about from your story, your journey as an animator to people who are maybe just getting into it with Procreate Dreams and things that they should look to explore or just, yeah, any advice or anecdotes from your journey that would be helpful to share with everyone here?
Let's see. I mean, I think the thing I like about Procreate Dreams is that it's so accessible for everyone, like financially, given that you have an iPad, which is more barrier than anything Procreate can do. Um, and just overall, it's a lot easier to just kind of jump into the app and start playing around and messing around than it would be in, say, After Effects or Photoshop even. So I think just take that spirit and that ability that is pretty new to this program and just actually play with it. For me, I started using Procreate back in like 2016, and I hadn't really done a ton of personal work that was digital just because I didn't want to be in front of my workstation 24/7 because I was already doing that for my day job and in school. So when I got Procreate and got my iPad and started taking it mobile, like when I traveled and just going to coffee shops and like reading and drawing and stuff, and I was able to do that digitally and create full illustrations like that, that made a huge difference for me. So I think just like taking it with you, playing around when you feel the urge to, and just messing with it and having fun with it more than anything else. All of the personal work that I ended up doing in Procreate back then, just for myself for fun, is what got me here to doing commissions for them and stuff. So that's really cool.
Yeah,
Um, and it ended up leading into my professional work as well because I developed a lot more of my own style and found out what I like to draw.
I
If
love
that
that.
helps.
That no, that definitely helps. I think people were curious about like the client work and growing as a working animator, and it's cool to hear that just taking the iPad around with you and drawing things that you wanted to draw and developing your own style is what led to some of the most fruitful client work.
Definitely. Like I would say I never thought that I had a style for a really long time, and I didn't really draw that much, honestly. Like I just felt like I was not good at stylizing stuff, and I really liked the stylized stuff, but I didn't know how to get there. So I think just playing honestly helped so much, and it's really cool to see that I guess it resonated, and now here I am.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love hearing when artists like kind of follow their personal creative vision and then it leads to client work. And also
Yeah,
I'm just sure the work is more meaningful because it's built on a style that you developed on your own.
yeah. I feel like I got crazy lucky, but I'm not asking questions. I'm happy about it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that with us and taking us through like the kind of from scratch process. It was really cool to see.
Yes, you can import the same brushes and assets you use in Procreate to Dreams, which is really nice. I believe it's drag and drop. The last time I did that was ages ago, but they do have a really, really good handbook and a really great Q&A on the Procreate Instagram as well. I think it's every Friday, but if you like go to the handbook or anything on their website, they'll show you all of those tricks. Uh, let's see, what was I doing for a living while I was developing my style? I actually went to art school. So thank God that worked out for me. I was fully just like, I don't know if I'm gonna be a starving artist. But I ended up working in motion graphics, animation for like commercials, broadcast stuff. So I was animating for that as my day job while I was kind of finding my own drawing style. But I definitely didn't draw as much until I got Procreate because I was just animating in After Effects and cell animating other people's designs.
All right. Thanks for answering those additional questions. We have each other's back today, and yay to the Apple Pencil and the quick charge. That
Oh
was
my gosh,
awesome.
yeah. Jesus.
Cool. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining. I'm sure you're going to be getting messy in Procreate Dreams and creating work. So please share your work with us. Tag Skillshare, tag Procreate, as you're sharing on socials. We'd love to see what you make. And also, Danny, what's your social so that they can also tag you and see all the work you're creating?
I'm gonna put it in the chat actually because I think I can do that. This is great.
Yes.
Um,
Everyone go follow Danny
it's just Danny
and
FS.
Danny FS. Easy. We
On
love it.
Instagram. Yeah. Tag me if you actually followed along. I don't know if it was follow alongable, but hopefully it was. And if you actually made anything, I would love to see it.
Yeah, please share with Danny and all of us. We'd love to see it.
Yeah. Also, thank
Um,
you for joining.
that is all, folks. Thank you all so much for joining from wherever you are or whatever time it was. We're so grateful for your presence. And Danny, thank you so much for prepping such an amazing session and guiding us every step of the way.
Thank you for having me. This was super fun to do with everyone here. I'm still amazed.